Hazy 204 hands-on series. Okay, so in the previous session we were discussing uh, about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, those kind of things, and how the deployments were differing in both infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. If we see, if you go back to the previous session, actually I didn't update the markdown file, but still I remember where did we cover. If you go in this previous one, we were able to see to a decent extent. We were able to cover all these things, and we were able to create a website. That one also we have seen it. And I think before we do anything with the Blazor WASM, that's when we timed out. It was more than 1.5 hours. So we timed out around here. So no, we need to go through these things. Okay, so we have a lot of things to do in this session 4. Let's get kick started with this. The first thing is we'll create a website and deploy the Blazor WASM. Okay, so let me go here and I think this is one of the other virtual machine. Password. Let me try that. I don't remember this password. Let me quickly give that a shot. This was here. Lab 1. Okay, no problem. Let me see. I should remove the password. If not, I'll reset the password. Okay, let's, oh, not through Bastion. Let's quickly connect it to the virtual machine. Let's bring in this. Okay, it's already there. Okay, let me reset the password. A minute. Updating the password. We'll get the control in a minute. Downloads. Wow, it's taking this much of time to reset. Let me give it a shot in between. Might start. Cool. It has accepted the password, the new password, whatever I've given. So the first thing we will see is deploy a Blazor WASM. Then we will see deploying of uh, static web app. Okay. So there are a few fundamental things which we need to understand. And before going there, I think in the previous session, we have configured a web API, if I'm not wrong. Let me check that. Okay, we have this virtual machine, and we have configured the IAS. I'm sorry. And inside the IAS, we had a couple of sites, if I remember it properly. And I think Books Web API is the one which we have created. We can rightmost click and click on Explore. So that directly takes us to the dub route, which we have seen, and we compared it also. And yes, exactly. This is where we stopped it. We were unable to do that. Okay. And another key thing what we have seen in the previous session is the Windows firewall is very much important. What is the port mapping which we did? We need to ensure that that port mapping has been unblocked. So we said that 8086, and for the API, it was 8085. So what we can do is, just for the benefit, what we will do is we'll really quickly go from here. We can use the public IP or the DNS of this. Can click on the, sorry, can copy this DNS, come back over here, and as we did HTTP mapping over there, colon 8085 slash API slash books. I think that's the endpoint which we had here. And what is that's happening? We can get into the event wheres. That's also we saw event where that will help us if at all something is going wrong, there is an issue in the database connectivity or anything which is throwing an exception, which doesn't get logged in IIS logs. We can get it in the Windows here. There you go. Okay, this is expected. And because we had the cache layer, but we didn't implement it. Why is it taking this much time? Okay, just a moment. Let's go here. Let me open the solution. One. There's another one. Yeah, this is the error I was expecting. It says that in network rating, it was unable to connect to the one it was going through. What is the issue? Let's see the error message. The server was not found. Okay, did I dismantle that server? Server. We have server app settings. Those. Wait a minute. Switch it to my other account. Okay, never mind. It's not going to take much time for us. We will recreate it. That should be fine. Fair enough. I should have seen this before. I assume that it will be there. Sorry, folks. You in this infrastructure. Templates. Okay, let's go. Just deploy that. I thought. previous session. That's the one. We go to infrastructure folder. Free ARM templates. To SQL web server. Bash and to SQL server. At the terminal, I was looking for autocomplete. It was not doing it all. Anyways, it is deploying now. We have to one step back to do the SQL deployment again. No problem. That shouldn't be a big deal. Only thing is we'll lose 5 minutes. First, we'll deploy the database, and we'll be back real soon. Huh? So sorry, I couldn't verify that. I thought that is there because it was from the previous session. All of a sudden, I see that database has been deleted from my account. I don't give access to anyone, but I don't know how did that got deleted. We're getting the clue from here. It's unable to connect it. So let me come back here and again verify that this is the name. It is SQL Bookstore Dev 001. See that I'm saving this time. Okay, never mind. Let's see that. In the meanwhile, it will not take much time for us to get through this. Let's quickly verify. If we go inside this infrastructure, we have the ARM templates, and inside the SQL server, we have deploy. So where is it? It's deploying. It's deploying to RG Robbie 001. So let me go to this resource group, Bobby 001. And yep, that is getting created. Cool then. It'll take only 2 minutes, guys, not more. Um, we have the SQL Server ready, and there'll be a little bit of uh, maintenance thing also we need to do. Uh, at this point of time, we need to add the network rule that should allow from this resource group all the virtual networks, because this virtual network is this virtual machine is from this virtual network. So it should allow the traffic from that virtual machine. So let's punch that, and then we will face one more problem, because uh, this virtual machine's public IP also has to be added. Anyways, let's go and add it instead of waiting for another error. Let's go there and also um, add a firewall rule, and the rule name is PM web apps, and that's the IP we are adding it due diligently instead of waiting for another error. Okay, let's come back and see whether the database has been spun. Okay, database is also up and running. Let's take a real quick 1 minute time. I think that is all done. So let me close this. Uh, Close all tabs. I don't need now. Now I'll do rightmost click and click on properties. And we have seen this. And in the properties, we'll ensure that it is Microsoft Azure SQL database. And in the debug, we will ensure that we are able to connect parameters. Plus the one password rate $. Okay, so that is the password. Let's quickly do a connection as succeed. So I'll click on OK. And the next thing is I'll click on start. This takes 2 to 4 minutes time. This is little lengthy process. Actually, I don't know how did I delete that. I'll ensure that I'm keeping it. Just unnecessarily we have wasted some time. So in the meanwhile, what we can do is we can come back to the same Robbie's subscription, and we can deploy the web API and Blazor WASM. We'll do that. Just let's spend 5 minutes time. Then we'll do in quick successions, like send this API and Blazor WASM, and then convert those into Docker instances, play with Azure Container Instance and Azure web app with containers. We'll do all these things. Huh? Just bear with me for 5 minutes. And we also containerize a we'll also containerize a Blazor WASM also. That there is one small trick I'll teach you that. Apart from that, everything will be straightforward. So let's see that in a minute. I think that, yep, it's done. So we can see that we are able to deploy it. And let's go here and try to bring in the API. There you go. That was my mistake, folks. I'm sorry. This one. So the API has come. Okay. So now what we do is, this is infrastructure as a service. That means we need to have a virtual machine. and we have to provision this virtual machine and ensure that all the softwares has been installed. Now IIS we have to provision, and then we will have to create the website. And on top of that, we saw that what all the software which are needed for that. Okay. And as far as we remember, in the management service, the most critical part is this 8172. We saw that why that is, and everything is has been documented. And apart from this, where the key thing is we need to go ahead and install few software. We'll again look at it. One is the web deploy, one is .NET hosting, and one is URL rewrite. URL rewrite is needed when we are deploying the Azure Blazor WASM. Okay, if it is Blazor server, I don't think you need URL rewrite, but specifically for Blazor WASM, you need this one. So our next target um, is we'll deploy the same web API in app service, and then we'll see a quick diff between both. Okay, now when we have infrastructure as a service, now it is our duty to go and ensure that the proper firewall, and need to ensure that the ports has been opened and everything, the software patches, security patches, and ensuring this IAS is up. For some reason, this IAS has been shared by multiple applications. If one of the application is chewing up CPU and memory, now it will be our duty to have some kind of watchdog applications, and just let us know that something is wrong. We have to take care. Now let's go and quickly do this. The step 2 is I'll close this solution and go back to this API. And this is the subscription which we are using for this demo. And what I'll do is let me take a duplicate tab, keep it ready, and I'll go and create a web app. Okay, we need web app. Let's create it real quick. Let's go and take this web app, and that's in subscription. I'm saying apps-books API -001. Okay, that's the name we have taken. And the runtime stack is .NET 6 long-term support Windows. And I want it in East US. I'll select East US. And the plan will create a plan. -API. I will come back and create a new one. I will make this as plan instead of app. And I will change. So this also we have spoken about this. If not, I'll do a quick refresher. So what is happening here is we are selecting the app service plan. That means we are saying that we need this much of compute. Okay. So here, if you see that when you come to dev test, if you select free, that means what is that you're going to get? You're going to get 1 GB of memory and 60 minutes per day of compute. It's a free. Anything after 60 minutes, you will not be able to. So this, you can use it like a quick POC, do some testing and do a POC. Now, another thing is very low powered one. Again, you have 1 GB memory and 240 minutes of compute, but you need to pay 600, around 700 Indian rupees. Now, if you want 100 ACU, Azure Compute Units, okay, so you're going to get 1.75 GB and A series compute equivalent. That means there is some hardware behind this one. But when it comes to infrastructure as a service, you know that what is the hardware of this. You exactly know that how much vCPUs you have taken, what is the memory, and what is the hard disk which has been allocated. You know it. And apart from that, everything will be on your shoulders. Like we need to take care of that. And when it comes to the app service, we are guaranteeing that this much of compute is guaranteed. You can see that what is included along with that. So if you select 700 rupees shared infrastructure, you can add custom domain. Here, free, you can't even add custom domain. Here you can add custom domain. Here in B1, you can have custom domain and you can have SSL certificate and you can do a manual scaling of 3 instances. And Azure Compute Units, it's starting from here, not in free and shared. And one more thing very important is if you go back and select the runtime stack as Linux, select the runtime stack as Linux, we'll come back and I want to show you very one important thing. So when you come back, you're not in the dev test, you're not seeing the shade. You're seeing free as well as you're seeing the B1 and you're not seeing shade. For some reason, Linux machines, they don't allow. So if it is Windows machine, um, what is that? Let's create it. Okay, the plan is here. Let's go to the plan and now we'll see that. So the shade one, you'll not get it, the shade when you are using the Linux operating system. When it is Windows operating system, to do a quick dev test, you have free shade and B1. B1 you have to pay all the way till 4,000 rupees, but you're getting the benefits also. When it comes to the production loads, you have to pay somewhere around 5,000, but see the included features. You can do auto scaling up to 10 instances. You have 5 staging slots. You have a daily backup. You have traffic manager. Now, if you go to P3 V3, you have to pay all the way till 70,000 Indian rupees. Now you're getting up to 20 staging slots, 30 instances of auto scaling, okay, and 50 times daily backup. You have traffic manager, you have Azure compute units, how much compute units you're getting, ACUs, 195 ACUs, and here it is 840 total Azure compute units. So different compute units based on the load for the business, you can select what should be your compute units. So that being said, we have selected this. Let's quickly look at it. This is subscription and the name we have given code long-term support Windows East US. And this is the name we are specifying and this is a free. And at this point of time, we will not select anything. The continuous deployment is disabled. If not, we can deploy it from here. It creates the GitHub actions, but definitely we will look into that in future episode. That is very, very important because all the time we can't come and do this. I don't want application insights at this point of time. That will come after 10 episodes from now. Let's do the quick review and it's all looks good. Let's go ahead and create it. So now we will do a probe or little bit dive into this. I have to show a few other things. So let's do that first. Let it deploy. And then then we'll do a quick differentiation between infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. Then we'll deploy the Blazor WASM at both the places. Then we'll go to the containerization of these things. Okay. So let's see how can we containerize. And also very important thing is you can come and check those operations. So web forms, and here it is websites. So we can come to this deployment details and let me minimize this and you can see server forms. So when you go to the server forms and come a little bit down here, it says that plan. That means server forms is app service plan. Now, when you select this, that's the website that itself is a app API. That's the app name we have given. We have selected app-books-api-001. That's for the app name which we have specified. And one we have specified for the app service plan so that you can see this Microsoft.web/sites is app and that you can correlate with sites like this. And here, if you right mouse click and you do an explore, you're coming to www root and inside this. So we'll see that in a moment. Okay. So this has been created. Let's go back to the subscription. And inside the subscription, you can see this is a plan. When you go into this plan, you will see what all the apps which are sharing this compute. I mean, we ourselves has got 1 GB RAM memory. And inside this, if you want to put or include multiple apps, the same hardware will be distributed between this. So you can, if you want, you can scale it out from here. So you can come and you can scale. Oh, sorry, scale up. We need to scale up is vertical scaling. That means add more computing power. So scale out is horizontal scaling. Add more instances. You can't even do this one because we saw that until unless we take this B1, you can't even manual scale. The manual scale comes here. See this, you can scale manually. Once we select B1, that's when you go to scale out horizontal scaling, you can add more instances. Now, if you want to scale up, this is a vertical scaling. That means you are adding more computing power to the app service plan. That means you'll get more computing power. And this one is getting shared. And now coming back to app, when we go to this app, you will see that this app is running here and this is free F1. And this is a site. When I click on this, it shows the site. OK, now what we will do is we will learn a couple of ways to speak to this. The first thing is I can go to this console and we'll go to the advanced tools also. Now you see this, there is something home site www root. Now this is platform as a service. Now you come and see, compare with this. This is a www root. Generally, some people, what they do, they will go to the D drive, they will create a folder and they create site and drop all the sites like books app 1, books app 2, or so, app 1, app 2, web API 1, web API 2, all the applications folders, they will put it in one location. Like here in infrastructure as a service, we are creating all the applications inside this folder. Technically, they create a separate folder called site, and we used to deploy in back in 2003-4. We used to do that all the way till 2010. I used to work heavily on this IIS, configuring this IIS Express and all those things. OK, so we can compare that. Now we do DAR. So we'll see that there is nothing except this hosting start. So I can do cat. When you do cat hosting start, all the things which you're seeing in this website over here, everything is getting spit over here. OK, that's one way you can go and check. Another thing what we can do is you can do a cd dot and command. You do dir, you see that inside that there is deployment logs and www root. So something, the deployment folder is there. If I go cd dot, you see home and I do ls. I mean, dir or ls both are working. So here you see site and log files. And if I do pwd, shows that, and also host name. If I do host name, it is giving web wk workstation 000, whatever it is. But with this, what do we understand? That there is some machine or Docker container or something, virtual machine, whatever it is, but there is something, a virtualization kind of thing is there behind this. Like here, if you come, there is a physical machine, the virtual machine. And that virtual machine has got IIS Express, that has got a folder. Inside that, all our binaries are there. So similarly, this is infrastructure as a service. When you go to the platform as a service, you see that similar setup is there, but we have no control. Someone else is doing for us. Here, we have to go ahead and install all the softwares. We have seen that. We have to install this hosting, we have to install this, we have to install this one and ensure that the ports has been opened. Everything is in our control and it is our responsibilities. But here someone else is taking care of our responsibilities. Now let's quickly see app service editor. We'll come and check the advanced tools little later. Okay. Once we deploy our web API, we'll come and see. This is very important. I want you to understand this. So I'll show you. I'll keep this ready so that we can quickly flip this. Still working. So you see that hosting start. Okay. It's all coming in here. I go and delete all these things. And I say, okay, I saved it. I'll come and do a refresh. So that means when you create a default web app, so the hosting start.html, that's the one which is getting displayed. Now I can do styling and all those things, but let's not waste the time because we already lost 10 minutes time in the starting. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to do that misadventure. Let me come to the app settings just to save the time. Hope I have given the correct password. I think now everything will work because generally I'll take people in the hardest way possible. That means I'll not do all these things. I will wantedly create problems so that we all will go and learn why we are facing these problems. But this time I already lost first 10 minutes. I mean, we together we lost that first 10 minutes, which is very critical to take off. So we're running a little bit, but we'll definitely come and revisit everything. So I'm doing this one and Windows App Service, and we'll go to Robbie, and here is that, and next, and API management. Skip this test step, and we can do a publish XML or we can add the workflow. But at this point of time, let's stick to the uh, this one publish XML. And what is this publish XML? I'll show you in a minute. So if you come to that web application, if you come to the web application, where is that? Here. And here you have this publish, get published profile. If you download this published profile, you can do the same thing. So that itself has been downloaded here. You can see that pub XML, right? And here what you have to do is one more thing. If we go back to the instructions in the episode 3, I assume, if I'm not wrong. That's in the episode 3. Yeah, in the episode 3. The episode 3, where we were doing infrastructure as a service, and we showed that 8172 is a management service port that is pretty much, very much important because when you're deploying it from the Visual Studio 2022, if we manually disabled that, then we will get this kind of error. So then we enabled it in Windows Firewall also, and also here in the inbound port. And at that time, when we go, it validates that the connection is good. So we have to do similar validation here also. I mean, just it's not mandatory, but it is better. So here it's going on 443, and the type of deployment is here. where we are publishing. Right now it is going and validating the connection. So the same thing we did it in the previous exercise, previous episode also, where we ensured that we are able to connect from Visual Studio 2022 to the website. And the website name also we specified in the previous one. If you see that, that's the website name which we have specified. So it was not able to connect. Then when the management service port is open, it is able to connect. So now you can correlate infrastructure as a code versus platform as a code. So now we are able to connect. So that's an site. Here it is there, the server. And then this is the site name. That means you can come and correlate with the IIS Express, what we did it here. That's the site name. So that's the site name it is creating. The username and password to do an FTP or the kind of deployment we are doing. So here it is there, and we click on save. So that means now we do publish. So observe over here, once we do publish, what it is doing. The publish, it has started. So let's go here and let's watch what it is doing. It is publishing. It has added all these files and then pushed it to this this website. Okay, in the remote, the web app has been published and it instantiated this app service site extension, and that's also done. Then it is splitting the things. Okay, so what we have to do is, on top of that, we have to add API/books. So now it will go and bring in the books. Because it's a first hit, it might take a little bit time. If it is failing, then we will see why it is failing. But uh, as far as the steps which we did, it shouldn't fail. If it is failing, then we will see a 500 error. So yeah, it's good. We are getting this 500 error. Um, Good, 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 good. Good, thanks. We got it. We did a blunder. I mean, I did a blunder. I'm sorry for that. It's not you guys. Now, what is happening is we are getting 500 exception. That means it is in the SQL server. In the SQL server, when we added the IP address, we added the wrong IP address. That's not the correct IP address what we added. I will show you. And I will show you the error where you can see this error. Let's go here, and in the show network settings, in the show network settings, we have added this virtual network. This is right, and this is wrong. Okay, this also should be there. This will help only the traffic whichever is coming from here. So this books API v1, this will be allowed this to this one. But right now we are trying from the web API. That's an app service. So what is the IP address of this app service? That IP address also should be punched hole in the fire. Okay, we should come and add it. But how do I know that? Because I've experienced this many times. Now I told we'll come back to the advanced tools. We'll come here. And another thing is we went to the event viewer. When we went to the event viewer, it clearly told us that, hey, I'm not able to connect to the SQL Server instance. It clearly told. So that's when we understood that, okay, what is this error? We went and added the IP address. Then it started working. Now, here in infrastructure as a service, we have control on the virtual machine. So we went and we saw that what is the issue in Windows event where. But now it is platform as a service. Someone can ask, hey, Swami, where can I see this? Yes, there is a way we can see. That is what this guy, advanced tools, Kudu console will come into picture. So you need to go to this Kudu console. And in Kudu console, we have a lot of things. And one of the thing is this environment. Let's wait here to validate some of the things. But this is very, very important, folks. Please ensure that we will not give access to anyone. This will be the limited access. Now go to the command or PowerShell, whatever is your favorite tool, you can go there and it will have the same structure. I want to show you that site www root and you see that you have this app settings. Now click on that app settings. It is perfectly valid. Okay, there's no issues. And where is the problem then? Let's go to that problem directly instead of wasting time. Because I wanted to show a lot of things, but we are running short of time. So in this one, there is something known as event log XML. Just click on this. In this, when you scroll, that's where it says that the same message cannot open SQL Server. The same you saw that here in this Windows virtual machine. You see that in eventware. This is also giving you an access to the eventware. And what it will tell is slowly scroll down, requested login, blah, blah, blah. And that is the IP address. Okay. So let's come back here and add a firewall rule. This we can call it as web app service. And let's add this IP address over here. Now save. That successfully saved it. Now go and get our data. Boom. So this is infrastructure as a service. This is platform as a service. Now another tip I'll give you is this we came to know that this is the IP address. The client with IP so and so is not allowed to access because we know that we need to punch the hole in the firewall. We did that. And another way to get the IP address, the outbound IP address, as well as the inbound IP address is in that app, you go here and you see that what is the IP address which we punched. I will put it here. I'll scroll this little bit. 20.49.104.43. 20.49.104.43. We punched only this. Outbound could be any one of this IP. And these are the inbound IPs. And on top of that, you might have an additional IPs, but at least the outbound IPs are these 5 to 10, whatever the number of IPs it is. There are limited IPs which you can use it. As of today, it's this. Tomorrow, if it fails, you need to go verify what it is and put that. Because I don't want to give a blanket check so that any IP can come and get into this SQL. As of today, the virtual IP is this. These are the outbound IPs. You can get that virtual IP. So add this virtual IP in the SQL, then you're in. Okay, so that's the tip. Now let's come back to our story. So now we understood two things. Let's do a quick recap before we go to the step 3. So the first thing is we deployed the API inside the infrastructure as a service, and we know if at all we are facing some problem, we need to go and see the IIS logs or get into this event viewer. And if you are deploying things as a platform as a service, you know where all to go. When you create an initial app service, that's the computing power you're choosing and you're willing to pay the price for that. I mean, this is what the computing power I needed. So you have to shell out some money. Okay. And the next thing is once you have it, hosting.start file will be there. That's where you go and get that. And you can modify it in the app service editor. And as well as you can get into the console to find out. But Kudu console is a guide to go. Anytime you face any issue, where should you go? You should go to that advanced tools, Kudu console. That's the keys of the kingdom, guys. Please ensure that it's not falling into the wrong hands. Okay, so that being said, let's come back to this virtual machine and let's go and deploy the Blazor WASM. Okay, the first thing is we have created the Books app v1. Let me right mouse click and explore. There's nothing in here. Right. So what should be the next step? Next step is we need to ensure that what is the port mapping. We need to check the port mapping and ensure that that port is opened up. So for the Blazor WASM, right mouse click and double click on that. Check the port numbers. Now, so it's 8082. So that port is not available. I mean, we didn't punch the hole. That's the problem. Okay. So let's go and punch it. Can we use this? Can I add extra points? Yeah, I can do that. Let me see that. So for that, what is this? 8086. So let's add it in the same rule. Here itself, both are for the Blazor WASM, isn't it? And 8086. Am I right? So 8086 has been added. So the step one is we created a website and we mapped it to the folder. And we also added this 8086 in the advanced firewall window settings. The next thing what we have to do is we need to come to that particular virtual machine. We need to come to the virtual machine, networking, and inside the networking, the last time we added is 8085. That was for the web API. Let's add a new Windows firewall rule and any custom 8086. Okay, and we call it as for Blazor WASM WASM. That okay? You're happy? Then we are also happy. So we'll add this. So it's adding the custom rule. Let's see that. So now you know that to deploy a app in infrastructure as a service, how much of efforts are involved. Now, when you're using a platform as a service, how much little efforts you need to put in. Rest everything is taken care by the cloud provider Azure. So thanks to all those engineers and the architects who have created this platform as a service. It's making our lives very, very easy. Okay, that being said, let's come back to the virtual machine over here. And let me switch back to Blazor solution. And let me open the books web. Okay, that's a book web. And let me use this for the time being. Let me use that for the time being to okay, to do that as well as in prod. I will go and update this. Okay, let me validate that it works locally. And we'll work on containers also, guys. That's a very, very interesting topic. Docker containers. I love that. You see, I'm not doing chest thumping. I'm showing that I started working in Docker containers since long. That does not mean that I have a lot of knowledge on Docker containers, but I started working on Docker 8 years ago, back in September 2014. Then I stopped working in between. For 1 year or something I worked. Then I stopped for 4 years and then I picked up 3 years ago. And then again, I stopped it for another 2 years. Then I started a year ago. And since past 9 months again, I came back and I constantly started working. But that does not mean that I got a lot of knowledge on that. But to a decent extent, I played it. So you see that the books API works. Uh, we see all these book authors. Okay, let's close this. And now what we will do is I will close this. First, we will do um, infrastructure as a service. Okay, so let's come back over here and right mouse click on this and let's do publish. And this time we have to publish it. I'll go ahead and delete that. I'll delete it and add a publish profile. And this time I want to Azure and I want to deploy it to a virtual machine. And what is the virtual machine? This is the virtual machine. Okay, you can see that the virtual machine name is VM for web app 001, VM for web app 001. We are saying that finish. So it did create the publish XML, then close it. Then another thing what we have to do is immediately is click on show all settings, go back to the connection. When you go back to the connection, what it is trying to do, it is trying to go ahead and deploy this in the default side. That means it is going and trying to deploy to the default side, this one. If you right mouse click on that and explore it, now you're going to lose that IIS start, like a starting XML, and it's going to spoil everything. Now, please ensure that you are deploying to the proper folder. Within that, this is the folder which we have chosen. The books app v1. That's the site name. Again, you come and verify that in the IIS Express. What is that? Books app v1. So now when you're deploying, come back and ensure that you are modifying that site. Books app v1. And the password for the virtual machine. Save the password and just click on validate. Now, as similarly, when we were doing the platform as a service, how it validated, now we have to validate this one. Without this step, you will face a lot of problem. First thing is, if the port 8172, that's a management service port, if that port is not enabled, then that's your first blocker. And now we are all good to go. Okay, now let's save, cross your fingers. If it is not working, that's your responsibility. If it is working, it's my work. Jokes apart, let me have a glass of water. I know the quality of joke was little less. If not, people would have laughed at my joke. There'll be a little bit of configuration we need to do. I will show you the difference. Let it publish first. Okay, now we can come back over here and go back to the folder where we saw that the folder books app 1. See that it started publishing. Publish it again. Let's wait. It's pushing a lot of files. Diagnostic. Let's check what is the output. It says unfailed. What is that? It failed. No problem. Let's see this. Okay, see the files, and let's go here and let's do a refresh. Let's go and manage site, browse. Let's see, I mean, if it is working or not. First thing is, let's see. Uh, is it showing up the, yes, it's showing. Okay, so now whether it's showing the books, that's showing the books. So it is 8086. So where we were able to get to this web API, that was on 8085. Now I can go back over here and go on 8086. That's loading the Blazor WASM. You can see that in the network traffic, it's loading all the files. And when I come to books, that's going perfectly and getting the data. And you can see that it's going and getting the data the from the app service. I can hook it up to this API inside this, but you can see that it is going to the app service. That's this one. Okay. So now that we are able to do, I don't know why that is showing that it failed, but it was success. I was really doubting it. Maybe something, a setup issue on my thing. I don't know. Let's create one more app here in the Robbie's resource group. Let me go and what is that? It's API. I'll put it as an app because let's take 1 minute time, not much, but web app. And I'll show you containerization. That's the different story. We'll look into that. I call this as app API books app. I call it as books web. Okay. And that's the code, the long-term support. I wanted an East US. And again, we'll create one for this plan. Let's use the free tier. Let's use the free tier. And use this. The next 20 minutes we'll spend on containerization. But again, we'll continue in the December month's episode. We will do a deep dive into containerization, the Springboard app, the web API from Docker containers. We'll do a deep dive into that. That will be a very wonderful journey, folks. You can see that. This one, products, microservice, the identity, and the configuration. A lot of these things we have containerized. I'll give you a glance of that, what is going to come next year from our series. Is I'll quickly show you that there is a series which we are going to start from C# corner. That will be this one. And how do you create an entire solution? If it is not 20, 30 containers, at least with 3 to 4 containers, how do you create a couple of microservices in .NET 6 and Angular app, and how do you hook it up, each having their own repositories? The work is going on behind the scene, but takes time to start the work. And this is on the products service. You have workflows where this workflow will go and do a lot of things. It goes and deploys the code. Okay. Tons and tons of things are there in this. We'll come back to that a little later, but I just wanted to show that you really love that. Okay, that being said, let me come back to the resource group, and I'll ensure that I'm keeping the database. This time I'm not going to dismantle. We have this web app. Now let's come back to this virtual machine real quick. And now this time right mouse click and publish. And new. And this time I want to publish to Azure and app service. And that's again in the Robbie's put it in web. And next, finish, close. And now again, I'll come back to show all settings, go to connection, validate the connection. Let it validate that it's able to communicate. Now click on save and now go and deploy. And let's see this. Even if it is saying that it's failing, let's go and access that because I don't know why it's showing that it is failing. It's successfully deploying it. Now let's deploy that. There you go. It didn't tell anything. Installing the core site extension. This we have seen that in the previous web API deployment also to the app service. And boom, there you go. I want to show you one thing here. Let me show that in my machine. So I'll open a new instance. This is again, see folks, this is infrastructure as a service. This is platform as a service. Okay. Now I'm opening it. Just focus on this portion, network portion. Okay. For the next 2 minutes is very, very critical, at least for 1 minute. Please focus that. When you first hit the Blazor WASM, what is that which is happening over here? See that. So everything, the entire website is getting downloaded to the customers or the client machine. You got Bootstrap, you got app CSS, you got, and you can go and compare that. It's not that we are telling that it is. You can come in here, go to this dub root and see here what is there in this. Go to the framework. Are you seeing all these things here? Right? So you see that everything is coming. App.css. Somewhere it should be there. You go and search. That will, this is an index file. Okay. If you come to the CSS, there you go, app.css. So everything like Bootstrap min and Blazor WebAssembly.js. You can search this folder, nook and corner of this folder. You'll see all these things. See that? What is that? Blazor.WebAssembly.json, Blazor.WebAssembly.json, 60 kilobytes. And you can see that the size plus or minus, I don't know why. See that shows that resource size 61.0K, right? So the entire website is getting downloaded that, and you can see that .NET, the Blazor WASM, even the C# DLLs. Folks understand that. Even the C# DLLs are getting downloaded and everything is getting executed here. Now I'll clear this. Now I'll come to fetch data. Now fetch data means there is something weather.json. Now if you go to click on this, see again it is going to the website and there is a sample data folder. From there it is downloading until unless there is an external call. Now here, if you click me, there is a C# code which is getting executed, but there is no network traffic. That means the DLL has been downloaded to the machine. You're getting it. Now see this. Now I'm going to the books. Now what's happening is now the books, it's going and hitting the API. And then from there it is getting, you can click on preview and all the images whichever is coming. You can see that the response, it went to the web API and it bought the response and it is displaying. Okay, so that's about this one. Think I will stop here this time because the next topic is very, very important. The containerization. I'll hold it for our next session because if I start, I think this month even the turnout of number of people were also less, but that did not stop us from spending a decent 1 hour 20 minutes getting deep dives into the problems. How do you fix the issue? Where to go and hunt it down? So hope you guys have learned something new, and please feel free if you have any feedback, positive or negative. I'll be more than happy to get that feedback from